we can get started. So the first verse, let's go with the sign up reader sign up sequence. So Kameshwar Prabhu, if you don't mind, can you cover first one, 6.14.1?
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, yeah, you're sharing the screen, no? Because I don't have a book actually.
Yeah. No, I'll be sharing the screen and I'll be scrolling up and down. So you can read the screen. That's fine.
Yeah. 6.14.1, right?
Yeah.
I can go translation or shall I read the verse also we are reading, right?
Totally up to you. Totally up to you.
Sri Parikshit Vacha Rajastamaha Swabhavasya Brahman Vrutrasya Papamanaham Narayane Bhagavati Katam Asid Drudha Matihi Sri Parikshit Uvacha Rajasastamah Swabhavasya Brahman Vrutrasya Papamanaham Narayane Bhagavati Katam Asid Dhruda Matihi Sri Parikshituvacha Rajastama Swabhavasya Brahman Vrutrasya Papamanha Narayane Bhagavati Katam Asid Dhruda Matihi. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. King Parikshit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, O learned Brahmana, demons are generally sinful, being obsessed with the modes of passion and ignorance. How then could Vrutrasura have attained such exalted love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana? Purport. In this material world, everyone is obsessed with the modes of passion and ignorance. However, unless one conquers these modes and comes to the platform of goodness, there is no chance of once becoming a pure devotee. This is confirmed by Lord Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita 7.28. Eshantva antagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandva maha nirmukta bhajante mam dhrudavrataha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. Since Vrutrasura was among the demons, Maharaj Parikshit wondered how it was possible for him to have become such an exalted devotee. Yeah, this is the end of the purport.
Yes, this is the end of the purport. If you can share, if you want to share your reflections, you can, Prabhuji.
Yeah, okay. Actually, here Parikshit Maharaj is surprised, like how Vrutrasura, being a demon, he became pure devotee. So actually, in Bhagavad Gita, as Krishna already told that when one is involved, one engaged in pure devotional service of God, he slowly eradicates, he'll slowly free from the sinful activities. Whatever earlier activities have been done, they will be not at once. Slowly, they will be removed. Like in Bhakti-Ratam Sindhu also it was mentioned that the devotional service. What are the 6 points which happens in a devotee's life once he engaged in pure devotional service? There are 6 points, one by one. What happens? Subhada, and first one is Shubhada. Shubha means like auspicious things will start happening in his life. And secondly, Klesa Agni, so he can burn the difficulties obtained from the three modes. So slowly all these things will happen, and he will feel that mokshata laguta krut, like moksha is very small for him, but devotee will not bother for him whether he will get liberation or not. So all these things will happen in one's life, and also in purport there, Prabhupada tells that slowly they will be, not immediately, slowly the sinful activities will be all types of all four types of papas, like already in the form of seed, which are already fructified. All these four types of papas will be there. All will be completely nullified once one is engaged in devotional service. So here, slowly it is so thus Krishna is confirming in Bhagavad Gita 7.28. So who is engaged in the devotional service with Dhrudha Vrata, with complete dedication at one point focus, he slowly gets rid of. Like the same thing we can see that by birth people, they may have taken in lower births, but once they are engaged in devotional service, they are becoming pujaris and all. This is clearly indicates that a live example that where we are seeing people are getting rid of their previous papa by engaging in devotional service. That's the best example. So like that, in the purport, Prabhupada's answer, like indirectly telling that, no, how Trasara, even though he is a demon, since he is a devotee, he got rid of all these demonic nature. That's what I wanted to add, Prabhu, here. Yeah. You can add, Prabhu.
Thank you, Kameshwar Prabhu. Very nice points. How I was actually trying to find that verse. It's a Padma Puran verse. Aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijam phalon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Padma Puran, it was mentioned there in Bhakti Rasamsindhu. Yeah, so all types of sinful activities will be removed, kramena, like, slowly, like not immediately, slowly, like, you know, yeah. Yes.
Bijam. I know it is there here, but it's not showing up when I go to the verse.
Yeah. And also in Bhakti Rasamsindhu, that 6 points will be there, no? How when
Yeah,
once
yeah. That is Kleshagni Shubhada Sandrananda Visheshatma Sudurlabha
and Krishna Karshana.
Krishna Karshani. So Kleshagni is removal of obstacles, Shubhada is bestowal of auspiciousness, Sandrananda is, I think, bestowal of this thing, Ananda, and
Yeah.
Durlabha is rarity. Moksha Lagutakrit is disregard for mukti. Then Moksha Lagutakrit, Sandrananda Visheshatma Moksha Lagutakrit.
Yeah.
And then Shri Krishna Karshani. That is the only, Bhakti is the only thing that attracts even Krishna. So,
yes. And also in that Sudurlabha is like, no, it is difficult, like that says difficult in the sense attaining Bhava Bhakti is difficult. Because Krishna doesn't give Bhava Bhakti easily. In spite of all efforts put by the devotee, unless Krishna gives, you won't get it. Krishna gives only out of his mercy. Like, no, he doesn't. One can just get by sadhana. He will not reach Bhava Bhakti. Bhava Bhakti will be given by Krishna only. Yeah. So nobody can attain it. So Krishna once he gives, because very rare. It is very rare, because once he gives Bhava Bhakti, he becomes a servant to the devotee. So he has to surrender to devotee. So he very carefully, very judiciously, he will give the Bhava Bhakti. So that is the most bottleneck for we slowly by sadhana bhakti we can reach up to some extent, but unless we have mercy of Guru and Krishna, we cannot attain the bhava bhakti.
Yeah.
So that's what. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice, Prabhu. Immediately you just pulled all those the Padma Purana verse and also that PRS.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I've heard it before in classes. That's why I thought.
Yes. Yeah. That's very good. Yeah. Go ahead, Prabhu.
It is very interesting because when I had read this verse, and I still don't have a very clear answer, but Yeshantvanta gatam papam jananam punya karmanam. So this, if you see the translation, persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, and who are freed from the duality of delusion, okay, engage themselves in my service with determination. So here it is interesting because if Prabhupada says completely sinful actions are completely eradicated and were freed from the duality of delusion. I mean, this, I don't know if this is true in my case, because I am still engaged in karmic reactions. I'm still in delusion, right? I don't know if my sinful actions have been completely eradicated. I might be committing some sin knowingly, unknowingly. So, right, I don't know. So then, but later I heard from devotees then that the important word here is dridhavritaha. Bhajante mam dridhavritaha. Unless these things are true, unless the sinful reactions are completely gone, and unless we come out of delusion completely, we won't be able to serve with determination. So dridhavritaha. So which kind of makes sense because and as you said, connecting this to this, so I think it's more of the proportion with which we practice bhakti, that accordingly, that according to that proportion, our sinful reactions will be eradicated, and then again, because of that eradication of sinful reactions and coming out of the duality of delusion, we'll be able to practice with much more intensity, which will result in more clearance of our sins, which will again impel us to serve with more determination. It's like a positive cycle that starts happening. So that
Probably here, I just sorry for interruption. One point actually, for this particular verse in Bhagavad Gita, in purport, Prabhupada uses the word gradually. So it doesn't immediately happen. Even one is situated in his complete devotion service, it takes time. Gradually, it will happen, not immediately. So one should not bewildered like why it is not happening for us. It takes slow process so. That word gradually is important. So slowly it will happen. So we may not immediately expect that. No, yeah, that is. Yeah, okay, Prabhu, go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, that is correct. But anyway, I really liked one point that you made. We don't practice bhakti for any other reason like moksha or something, right? Because this one of the characteristics of one of the results of bhakti is actually moksha laghutakrit. It makes liberation seem insignificant. So we don't exactly desire for liberation also through our bhakti. So there is this another verse, bhukti mukti spriha yavat pishachi ridi vartate. So unless and until this two pishachis, two demons of bhukti is enjoyment, and mukti is liberation from suffering. Unless the desire for these two are there in the heart, how can one develop love of God? So it is very interesting because we say back to Godhead so often. We see that as a fruit of practicing bhakti. Oh, I'll go back to Godhead. I'll go back to Godhead. But then we also know that pure devotee on a pure devotional level, he or she does not care if they go back to Godhead also, because just Maharaj, Radhanath Maharaj gave the class yesterday for Gaur Purnima. I think in the beginning of the class, he mentions that Prabhupada is praying something to the tune of, Prabhupada is, exactly, I remembered now. So Prabhupada is writing in his diary the entry for March 6th and 7th. Maharaj reads out that entry in Prabhupada's diary. And Prabhupada writes that devotees in Mayapur and Vrindavan are nicely engaged, happily celebrating Gaur Purnima, appearance of Lord Gaurachandra. But here I am sitting in this Western country, in this wilderness, with no devotee with me. So, with no devotee with me here. And then Prabhupada writes, but I don't mind staying even in hellish conditions if that is what is required to please my spiritual master and to follow his instructions and to follow the will of the Supreme Lord. So this is really interesting. It is the mood is of that verse of in Bhagavatam Narayana Parasarve na kutaschana bibyati swargapavarga narkeshu apitulyartha darshinaha. So whether a pure devotee is in the hellish planets or in the swarga apavarga in the heavenly planets doesn't matter to him, because he's always remembering the Lord. So even Prahlad Maharaj says something similar also, where he says he doesn't care if he's anywhere. Oh, I think this is spoken by Prahlad Maharaj, this same verse. So it is interesting that these pure devotees, they don't even desire to go back to Godhead. We'll never hear in their prayers that, oh, please take me back to Godhead, dear Lord, please engage me in your service in the spiritual world. No, that is not even their desire. Their only desire is to please the Lord, whatever it takes. So, yeah. Anything anyone else wants to add on this? Hare Krishna. Okay. I think if
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'm sorry. I just have a question here. So you were talking about like acharyas having they never they praying just for like service and not praying to go back to Godhead. Does it mean that we should also have the prayer? Or I mean, I feel like we in the sense me, like I don't have to necessarily have that kind of prayer, because like truly from the bottom of my heart, I just want to go back. Like I can from my heart never pray like that. So is that wrong? And if that's wrong, how do we correct it? I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
oh, it's definitely not wrong, Mataji. Definitely not wrong. But so it's like I would say, what is the underlying motivation for you to pray to go back to Godhead? Right? Is it to, oh, this material world is such a miserable place. This is a horrible place. Let me go back to Godhead. Because in spiritual world, there is no misery there. Is that the underlying motivation, or the underlying motivation is in the spiritual world, I will get to serve the Lord in so many wonderful ways. I will get to associate with the liberated devotees of the Lord, and I can serve under their guidance, right? I can please God in that way. So I guess it all comes down to what the motivation is. So praying to go back to Godhead, I think it is definitely an elevated prayer. It is definitely, and I also don't think we should artificially pray that, artificially pray that, oh Lord, I don't care where you put me, even if you put me on these planets. Because I mean, to tell you the truth, even I can't make that prayer, because if I'm myself not so sure if Krishna puts me in the if he says, Jagannath Gopal is praying like this, let me put him in hell and see whether he keeps his word. Oh, that it will be truly a disaster for me. So definitely,
Mm.
I'm also not at that level, but just it's like within perfection also there are multiple levels, right? We have within perfection, within the perfection of love of God also, we have various levels of the various rasas we have, and then we say within all those rasas we say that madhurya is considered like topmost and things like that, right? So it's like Prabhupada writes, Prahlad is the topmost devotee of the Lord. He also writes Radharani is the topmost devotee of the Lord. He also writes everybody is topmost. How come everybody can be topmost? So it's like within perfection also there are levels,
Right.
and
Right.
definitely all are elevated. And
Nice.
even
Yeah.
compare is actually wrong. We have to compare in a very respectful way. So
Nice. Yeah.
it's like that. So I don't think it's wrong per se to go back to Godhead, but I would definitely check the motivation underlying that desire. So yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on this.
I've always thought about this, Prabhuji. I always thought about this as the three possible reactions. There is the fit, fight, and flight.
Hmm.
And sometimes when we are in a difficult situation, we can, let's say we are in a bad company or something. You can either fit in, or you can fight for inside the company, or you can just fly away. So sometimes not obviously this is an elevated position to think about escaping, but if you think about escaping all the time, then or go back to Godhead all the time, then will we do justice for the world that we are living in? Is a thought that has always come to me, and just I don't know what the answer is, but it's something that I've always thought about.
Beautiful point. Yeah. Will we do justice to the world we are in if we are in that escapist mentality? Yeah. That's a valid question. And yeah, it's a very internal motivation that everyone has. So it is a very internal thing that each devotee will have cultivated in some form, as to what is their innermost motivation to practice bhakti. So yeah, as you said, it's it doesn't have to be, it should not be rather an escapist kind of a thing. So yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you.
So okay, let's move on to the next verse then, 6.14.2. So let me cover this one, or if Karan Prabhu, do you want to cover it? You can cover this one and the next one, because this one only has, or both have only translations. So
Yes, Prabhu, I can. Text of Devanam Shuddha Sattvanam Rishinam Chamalatmanam Bhaktir Mukunda Charane Na Prayeto Pajayate. Demigods situated in the mode of goodness and great saints cleansed of the dirt of material enjoyment hardly ever render pure devotional service to the lotus feet of Mukunda. Therefore, how could Vitrasura have become such a great devotee? Text 3. Rajopi samasankyata parthive iha jantava tesham ya kechane Ante Shreyo Vai Manujadaya. Translation. In this material world, there are as many living entities as atoms. Amongst these living entities, a very few are human beings, and amongst them, few are interested in following religious principles.
Actually, you can do the next one also, Prabhuji.
Sure, yeah. Parayo mumuksavastesham kechanaiva vijottama mumuksunam sahasreshu kaschin mujyeta siddhyati. O best of the Brahmanas, Sukdev Goswami, out of many persons who follow religious principles, only a few desire liberation from the material world. Among many thousands who desire liberation, one may actually achieve liberation, giving up material attachment to society, friendship, love, country, home, wife, and children. And amongst thousands of such liberated persons, one who can understand the true meaning of liberation is very rare. Purport. There are four classes of men, namely karmis, jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas. This statement pertains especially to karmis and jnanis. A karmi tries to be happy within the material world by changing from one body to another. His objective is bodily comfort either in this planet or in another. When such a person becomes a jnani, however, uh, he aspires for liberation from material bondage. Amongst many such persons who aspire for liberation, one may actually be liberated during his life. Such a person gives up his attachment for society, friendship, love, country, family, wife, and children. Among many such persons who are in Vanaprastha stage, one may understand the value of becoming a sannyasi, completely accepting the renounced order of life. So, yeah, so these uh, few verses are leading to the point uh, where Parikshit Maharaj is basically establishing the rarity of bhakti, like how rare it is to find a pure devotee of the Lord. So he's like basically giving all of the different like from the point where one is little bit inclined to the point where one is fully devoted to the Lord, and so yeah, so that's what he has the question that how such something which is like so rarely found, how can such a some demon like Vitrasura have the highest possible thing, like love for God. So that's what Parikshit Maharaj is kind of building up.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, this reminds us of that verse in Gita, Manushanam Sahasreshu Sudyatati Siddhaya Yatataamapi Siddhanam Kashin Mam Veti Tattvataha. Among so many people, among thousands of people, one might aspire for spiritual life, and out of thousand such people who have perfected, hardly one knows me in truth, Krishna says. So yeah, definitely in Nectar of Devotion also, in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu also, Rupa Goswami, he starts with yeah, he starts he starts the lowest species of life, and then he builds up to prove how getting bhakti is rare. So amongst the lowest species, some are fortunate to get a body in a higher species of human life. And then amongst humans, there are so many gradations. So he starts with within all species, there are different types. I think the birds and beasts and, aquatics and so on. And then within that, and then he boils down to human form of life. In human form of life, again, you have different classes, right? You have different gradations of living of human beings, and within that, then a person who is rendering, who is actually even aspiring for spiritual life is even rarer. And then even amongst those who are aspiring for spiritual life, then you have your karma yogis. And no, there are, I think he says, in humans there are two types: ones who follow scriptural injunctions and ones who do not. And within the one who follows scriptural injunctions, you have the people who are following the scriptural injunctions only for their fruitive activity, fruitive results, karma kandis. And then you have the even higher, where those who are following scriptures for some kind of yoga, and then actually yoga starts, that is karma yoga. And then karma yoga, then beyond that jnana, beyond that ashtanga, and then finally bhakti. So very, very interesting, very, very it's a sudurlabha. What Karan Prabhu shared makes me think that, makes me grateful for having achieved this chance to practice bhakti, having received the association of all of you, so that we can discuss this and develop our true natures as being servants of the servants of the servants of the Lord. So how rare it is. So thank you, Karan Prabhu. Thank you.
And I was also hearing to Prabhupada recently, and Prabhupada was saying that of all the different practices of yoga, like karma, jnana, and so they start at some point, like by doing asanas and different practices, and ultimately they come to the realization that God is a person, and rendering service to him is kind of ultimate. And for us in Krishna consciousness, that is the beginning. For all the other processes, what is the end? For Krishna consciousness process, that is the beginning. Like you start by rendering service to the Lord. So that highest realization has been made available so easily by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada to us. So how fortunate we are.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, this is so interesting. We start off with at least theoretically accepting that the Supreme Lord is a person. Yeah, this is an amazing point. Yeah. But in other paths, we have to build up to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting, beautiful. Thank you, bro. So we have two hands raised. I think Nitya Mataji had raised first. So yes, Mataji, please share.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So how, as devotees, as practicing devotees or aspiring devotees, how we should practically understand these points here, because these are some are very strong points. One is that demigods, even they're situated in mode of goodness, and even great saints who's cleansed the dirt of material enjoyment, hardly means like seldom, right? Like never ever render pure devotional service at the lotus feet of Mukunda. I mean, these verses kind of if we read it, we may feel like, oh, I don't even stand a chance, right? Pure devotional service, even demigods it's impossible. Even for great saints, in our parampara, in our the acharyas in our parampara, who've cleansed the dirt of material enjoyment. They're saying pure and devotional service at the lotus feet of Mukunda is almost close to rarity. So, and then in the next one, in the text 4, we see things like, yes, Manusranam Sahasretu, yes, that is there. But even in the second sentence, among many thousands who desire liberation, one may actually achieve liberation, giving up material attachment to society, friendship, love, country, home, wife, and children. So I, I think with the evolution of Kali Yuga, we are all in, from where Parikshit Maharaj was, I think it's we know that the path to, this is not the only path to liberation or to achieve pure bhakti, where we detach ourselves from our family and wife and children. Of course, that is highest if we can do that. But with a kind of a newer understanding, where we see that the horizontal relationships that Chaitanya Charan Prabhu is mentioning and the vertical relationships, how we can arrive at a balance with this, and how when we show our compassion and love to our immediate families or immediate association of devotees, and extend that to pretty much every person we associate with, pleases the Lord. And when the Lord is pleased, the mercy of the Lord flows. So we tap into that mercy, and when the mercy comes, then we become eligible for that prema bhakti at that particular small instant of time. Looking at this, it's I at least this is my opinion. Please correct me if I'm wrong. That the path that is laid out is not the only path. Is what my thinking is, that where it's out of millions of living entities, one gets a human form, and then out of all the humans, in one takes to this path of takes the path of desire liberation. First of all, the desire has to happen, and then thousands who desire, then they give up the material attachments, and then of thousands who give up those material attachments, only like one who can understand is very rare. Even that is very rare. But I just wanted to clarify how this can be used for our practical purposes, not to get dejected and to get discouraged by such statements like, okay, this is not going to be possible for me. What am I even doing, right? Then how do we transform this to something that motivates us and keep us going in our path to liberation? I just happened to read, this is the daily update from about Kadamba Kanand Maharaj, and we just receive every day about or often nowadays because of his deteriorating health. So towards the end, it's in that message, it says that our only duty is to tell everyone that complete reliance, or just at least tell ourselves that complete reliance on the absolute truth is by far the highest form of freedom. I was meditating on this sentence pretty much the whole day, like how, when we think of freedom, it's like independence, where we don't have to depend on anybody, right? That is independence. Like we don't have to depend on anybody. But here says, this is from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He says that the highest form of freedom is complete dependency on the absolute truth. So it's very paradoxical. It's very, so in a sense that it actually frees us from worrying about such things like, will I get pure bhakti? Will I even do this, be able to do this in this lifetime, next lifetime, how many lifetimes, how long this suffering? even from a material perspective, spiritual perspective, just completely rely. Our only duty is that I was thinking that kind of eases a little bit for me in our perspective. I'm sorry to take so much time on this topic, but please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's perfect, Mataji. Very perfect. And what you said about these attachments, family, home, country, etc., wife, children, these definitely they don't. So here, when it is said that giving up material attachment to society, friendship, etc., I think there is the underlying assumption in this context that these attachments are not favorable to our devotional practice. So there is that assumption being made here. It's what I personally feel. That is why it's being talked about, about giving up. If you see the purport for Bhagavad Gita 13.8 to 12, so Krishna lists out qualities, and he says he considers these qualities as true knowledge, and whatever else there is, he considers as ignorance. So one of those qualities he mentions is this Indriyadeshu Vairagyam Ahankara Evacha Janam Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshana Darshanam Asaktir Anabhishvanga Putra Dara Grihadishu. So Krishna says non-attachment to Putra Dara Grihadishu. So Putra is children, Dara is spouse, Griha is home, and Adishu and so on, right? And then Prabhupada interestingly writes in the purport, I can show it to you actually, but I don't want to elongate the discussion, but you can find out. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that as far as giving up attachment to family is concerned, to family members, he says that it does not mean that we stop showing affection. He says showing affection to family members is but natural. It has to be there. It comes naturally. So, but Prabhupada writes that if such family attachment is not favorable to bhakti, then favorable to our bhakti, then these need to be, given up or taken in the right perspective. In fact, he goes to write to the extent that if you're nicely engaged in your grihastha life, in practicing bhakti very nicely, you don't even have to take vanaprastha. When I read that, I was like, wow, this is nice. This is interesting. So yeah, let me just show you, because I'm making very tall claims here. I don't want to. Yeah, I think I had it open. So here, if you see, false ego, one should try to. As for detachment from children, wife, and home, it is not meant that one should not have feeling for these. They are natural objects of affection, but when they are not favorable to spiritual progress, then one should not be attached to them. The best process for making the home pleasant is Krishna consciousness. If one is in full Krishna consciousness, he can make his home very happy because this process of Krishna consciousness is very easy. One only need to chant Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Accept prasadam, have some discussion on books like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and engage oneself in deity worship. So here, and then, see here he writes, if one can mold his family life in this way to develop Krishna consciousness, following these 4 principles, then there is no need to change from family life to renounced life. So when I read this, I was so relieved that I don't have to take sannyas, or I have to, of course, provided I do all these things in my grihastha life. So that is the important part here. But yeah, very nicely pointed out, Mataji, that it needs to be taken in perspective. And even if our family is not engaged in devotional service, if we personally, as you said, we see them in connection with the vertical, we see our horizontal relationships in connection with the vertical, then that is nourishing to us as, aspiring devotees. Even if our horizontal relationships are not in the engaged in bhakti the way we define it. So yeah, it's still, we can see it in a Krishna conscious way. Yeah, thank you very much, Mataji. There is no mistake at all in this. So we had Krishnan Prabhu also with
Yeah.
his.
I'll quickly chime in, Prabhu. I think you both covered the discussion so beautifully. You know, the vertical, horizontal, Chaitanya Charan, His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's point is so valid, and then your point about family. I'll just mention one quick thing. You know, I'm a big fan of this TV show called Ek Mulaqat Krishna Bhakt Ke Saath, which comes on YouTube, where they interview many Krishna devotees. You know, I don't know if you guys have seen it. It comes on YouTube, and they're very encouraging, you know, these discussions. It comes on Hare Krishna TV. So the one common question that people ask is, oh, you know, my family is not following Krishna consciousness. How do I convince my husband? Or how do I convince my in-laws? Or something like that. You know, that's a common question that the audience members ask. And one standard answer that every devotee gives is that we have to be kind to them, and we have to be excessively kind to them. We have to be very attached and caring to them. We cannot, you know, artificially create this detachment and go away from them just because, you know, they are not Krishna consciousness, because they're part of our family. And so that's a standard answer. And so that, you know, from your explanation, that it's so consistent with what Srila Prabhupada has said, that, you know, that affection to our family members is very natural. And so it's really important, and it should aid us in our process of Krishna consciousness. I think that's the point that needs to be underlined too, that Jagannath Prabhu, you know, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, you said. Because what can also happen is, you know, there are so many people in society who say that, you know, I'm building a hospital, I'm building this, I'm doing good. Why do I need God? And, you know, the other common question that people ask is, you know, why are you building temples? Why are you not building hospitals? And both of them are important, but they have to be done in a Krishna conscious way, and that service has to elevate us and the people we are serving in becoming more Krishna conscious.
Yeah, beautiful, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Your both of your discussions really helped me a lot. Thank you so much.
Even a temple is a hospital where the material ignorance is removed, is treated. There is
Yes.
no statement or overstatement, and it's the exact thing. And yeah, we might open hospitals, we might open, you know, we might do these other things. Definitely nothing wrong in that. Very good. But then are we elevating the conscious? We can treat the body and leave it at that. And, you know, but if we don't elevate the consciousness of the person we are treating, then that person will just carry on with his sinful life even after getting that help from us. On the other hand, when we give like food, when we give Krishna Prasad to people, we do food for life and things like that. And we have the example of Bhaktivedanta Hospital. We are not only treating the body, but we are also elevating their consciousness. And that is what is important. If we elevate their consciousness, then that sinful tendency will gradually go away, and the way that will improve their life is much, much better than how much we can do by, you know, treating their body by, let's say, opening a hospital, you know, and with that isolated vision of just treating the body. So definitely it's yeah, there is always this I wouldn't say tussle. It is a tussle in many cases, but how to strike a balance between our horizontal and vertical relationships. So yeah, but anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prabhu. So there are no other hands raised. So let's go to the next verse. I'll read this one. So, okay. Oh, this, yeah, nice. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayanaha sudurlabha prashantatma kotishvapi mahamune. O great sage, among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be a devotee of Lord Narayan or Krishna. Such devotees who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives the following purport to this verse. Simply desiring mukti or liberation is insufficient. One must become factually liberated. When one understands the futility of the materialistic way of life, one becomes advanced in knowledge, and therefore he situates himself in the Vanaprastha order, unattached to family, wife, and children. One should then further progress to the platform of sannyas, the actual renounced order, never to fall again and be afflicted by materialistic life. Even though one desires to be liberated, this does not mean he is liberated. One only rarely is someone liberated. Indeed, although many men take sannyas to become liberated because of their imperfections, they again become attached to women, material activities, social welfare work, and so on. Jnanis, yogis, and karmis devoid of devotional service are called offenders. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mayavadi Krishna Aparadhi. One who thinks that everything is Maya instead of thinking that everything is Krishna is called an Aparadhi or offender. Although the Mayavadis, impersonalists, are offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna, they may nonetheless be counted among the Siddhas, those who have realized the self. They may be considered nearer to spiritual perfection because at least they have realized what spiritual life is. If such a person becomes Narayana Parayana, a devotee of Lord Narayan, he is better than a Jivan Mukta, one who is liberated or perfect. This requires higher intelligence. There are two kinds of jnanis. One is inclined to devotional service and the other to impersonal realization. Impersonalists generally undergo great endeavor for no tangible benefit, and therefore it is said that they are husking paddy that has no grain. Sthula tushavad ghatinaha. The other class of jnanis whose jnana is mixed with bhakti are also of two kinds. Those who are devoted to the so-called false form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just 1 minute. The other class of jnanis whose jnana is mixed with bhakti are also of two kinds. Those who are devoted to the so-called false form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and those who understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Satchidananda Vigraha, the actual spiritual form. The Mayavadi devotees worship Lord Narayana or Vishnu with the idea that Vishnu has accepted a form of Maya and that the ultimate truth is actually impersonal. The pure devotee, however, never thinks that Vishnu has accepted a body of Maya. Instead, he knows perfectly well that the original absolute truth is the Supreme Person. Such a devotee is actually situated in knowledge. He never merges in the Brahman effulgence. As stated in Bhagavatam 10.2.32, Yenya Arvindaksha Vimukta Maninas Tvaya Asta Bhavad Avishuddha Buddhaya Aharuya Krichena Parampadam Tataha Patantya Adho Nadrita Yushmad Angraya. O Lord, the intelligence of those who think themselves liberated but who have no devotion is impure. Even though they rise to the highest point of liberation by dint of severe penances and austerities, they are sure to fall down again into material existence, for they do not take shelter at your lotus feet. Evidence of this same point is also given in Bhagavad Gita 9.11, where the Lord says, Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanum ashritam parambhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. When rascals, mudhas, see that Krishna acts exactly like a human being, they deride the transcendental form of the Lord because they do not know the Parambhavam, his transcendental form and activities. Such persons are further described in Bhagavad Gita 9.12 as follows. Moghasha mogha karmano mogha jnana vichetasaha rakshasim asurim chaiva prakritim mohinim shritaha. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Such persons do not know that Krishna's body is not material. There is no distinction between Krishna's body and his soul, but because less intelligent men see Krishna as a human being, they deride him. They cannot imagine how a person like Krishna could be the origin of everything. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Such persons are described as Moghashaha, baffled in their hopes. Whatever they desire for the future will be baffled. Even if they apparently engage in devotional service, they are described as Moghashaha because they ultimately desire to merge into the Brahman effulgence. Those who aspire to be elevated to the heavenly planets by devotional service will also be frustrated because this is not the result of devotional service. However, they are also given a chance to engage in devotional service and be purified. As stated in Bhagavatam 1.2.17, Shravatam Sokata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Yavadrani Vidhunoti Suhrutsatam. Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, a super soul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Unless the dirt within the core of one's heart is cleansed away, one cannot become a pure devotee. Therefore, the word Sudurlabha, very rarely found, is used in this verse. Not only among hundreds and thousands, but among millions of perfectly liberated souls, a pure devotee is hardly ever found. Therefore, the word Kotishvapi are used herein. Srila Madhvacharya gives the following quotations from the Tantra Bhagavata. Navakotyastu devanam rishayas sapta kotayah Narayana yanaha sarve ye kechit tat parayanaha. There are 90 million demigods and 70 million sages who are all Narayana, devotees of the Lord or devotees of Lord Narayan. Among them, only a few are called Narayana Parayanaha. Oh, this is nice, interesting. Narayana Deva Rishadyas tat Parayanaha Brahmadyaha Kechanaiva Syuhu Siddho Yogya Sukham Labham. The difference between Siddhas and Narayana Parayanas is that direct devotees are called Narayana Parayanas, whereas those who perform various types of mystic yoga are called Siddhas. Very long and very technical purport. Yeah, again, I think I don't have much to share. Prabhupada has nicely covered so many points here. Yeah, again, this is again, in a more dramatic way, pointing to the rarity of pure devotional service and pointing to the rarity of the existence and availability actually of pure devotees. So that way we are very fortunate again to be in this day and age, to be in this point in time where we have access to pure devotees. So yes, Vamsidhar Gopal Prabhu raised his hand. Sorry, Prabhu, I am continuing the hosting since I was in the flow.
Actually, thanks to you, Prabhu. I'm sorry, I got late. Yeah, thank you so much. It was really nice being on discussion. So, I mean, yeah, in the last verse, everyone shared like so many amazing comments and cross references. That was really helpful. And yesterday was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Gaur Purnima, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Avirbhav Divas, and especially this chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vritrasura story, the few set of verses that we are going through, that elaborate quite a lot about the rarity of devotees, the rarity of how rare are the devotees who are surrendered to Krishna or who have actually realized the principle or the tattva of pure devotional service and practicing it. This verse is also similar, that Muktanam api Siddhanam Narayana Parayana. There are so many there are that verse was nice. Like Prabhu said, it's interesting that there are so many uh, Narayana Yanaha, but very rare Narayana Parayana who have actually surrendered to, who are actually devotees of Lord Narayana. So I want to like connect this thing to in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the Adi Lila, with 2 chapters are dedicated to like the reasons for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance into this world, and one of them is internal reasons. That is chapter 4 in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So there Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is explaining the reasons of Chaitanya, the internal reasons. The externally Mahaprabhu wanted to help out the fallen souls of Kali Yuga and spread the holy name. But the internal reasons that even Mahaprabhu was craving to experience, the Lord Shri Krishna himself was craving to experience what the devotees feel. And to do that, how Radharani enjoys so much when serving Shri Krishna, and how other devotees were always serving Lord Shri Krishna, and they are always in bliss, highest ecstasy. So in so beautiful verses that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is explaining this. Prabhu, can we open Chaitanya Charitamrita chapter? I will just take 5 minutes. Chapter 4, 18th verse, Adi Leela.
Adi 4.18. This one?
18. 18. This is 18. That's the one. That's the Amare Ishwara Mane Apana ke hina Tara prema veshami nahai adhina. That those who, if one regards me as Supreme Lord and himself as subordinate, I do not become subservient to his love, nor can it control me. This is like Krishna thinking to himself. That's how Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is elaborating this. That if they consider them as, so that's why in the previous verses we say that the devotional service is very, very rare, because either someone desires for either most of the people are karmi, some of them try to get liberated, and someone even achieve liberation, but no one comes to this stage of devotional service where they will be loving Krishna in Dasya, Vatsalya, Sakhya, Madhurya Bhav. That's why it is so rare, and even Krishna is contemplating about this level of devotion, that if one regards me as the Supreme Lord and himself as a subordinate, I do not become subservient to his love, and nor can it control me. And then in the next verses, in the next verse, this verse is quoted that ye yathamam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham, that in whatever mood, transcendental worship me, I reciprocate with him. Yeah, this verse is quoted, and then next to it, like 21 verse, 21st verse. Yeah, that is also really sweet verse. Yeah, that Mora putra, mora sakha, mora prana pati, यही भावे यही मोरे करे शुद्ध भक्ति आपना के बड़ माने आमारे समहीना सेई भाव हयामी ताहार अधीन. So if one cherishes pure loving devotion to me, thinking of me as his son, his friend, or his beloved, regarding himself as great, and considering me his equal and inferior, I become subordinate to him. Krishna is contemplating about again, this is Lord Shri Krishna who is thinking that, okay, how my pure devotees deal with me. They cherishes pure loving devotion to me, thinking they connect me as their son, as their beloved, like gopis, or they regard themselves as great and myself as inferior, like Yashoda Maya. If I don't feed Krishna, he will die. and then they try to take care of me without thinking of any supremacy of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So and then this goes as the 24th verse, Prabhu.
Yes.
Yeah. 20, this is 24th, right? Yes. माता मोरे पुत्र भावे करे न बंधन अथीन अतिहीन ज्ञाने करे लालन पालन. Like, so Yashoda Maiya is like, sometimes she binds me and nourishes me and protects me, thinking that Krishna is small baby, he cannot do anything. And in this way she loves her like a ordinary child, and there is nowhere consideration that Krishna is God, Supreme Personality, and he can take care of himself. This is complete selfless love, and the highest expression of any kind of spiritual attainment that can be done. So again, this is what Lord Shri Krishna is thinking in his mind, that how my devotees reach to this level, and how come they love me so much. And the next verse, the next two verses are even interesting, 25th and 26th. सखा शुद्ध साख्य करे स्कंदे आरोहण तुम्ही कोण बडलोक तुम्ही आम्ही सम. That my friends climb on my shoulders in pure friendship and say, what kind of big man are you? You and I are equal. And they'll climb on Krishna's shoulders and ask him to carry them if Krishna gets defeated in wrestling match with his friends. That's how. So and so in the next verse, he's saying, प्रिया यदि मान करी करये भर्त्सना Vedastuti haite hare sei mora mana. Like, if my beloved consort reproaches me in a sulky mood, like these are very high pastimes, but sometimes we can discuss this to just to know the life in the Golok Vrindavan, and what ultimately Bhagavatam is teaching us, that if my beloved consort reproaches me in a sulky mood like gopis and Radharani, that steals my mind from the reverent hymns of the Vedas. Krishna feels more pleasured, more happy when hearing the reproaches of his consorts like Radharani and all the Sakhis. And then this goes on, Krishna keeps and then 27th, 28th verse. So he's kind of now directly expressing the desire. E Shuddha Bhaktalan Karimu Avatar Kariba Vividha Vidha Adbhuta Vihara Vaikuntha Nahi Ye Leelar Prachara Sese Leela Kariba Yate Mora Chamatkar. Taking these pure devotees with me, I shall descend and sport in various wonderful ways, known even in Vaikuntha, unknown even in Vaikuntha. I shall broadcast such pastimes by which even I am amazed. So the pastimes that Lord is contemplating on, the pastimes that we are reading, those are rare even in Vaikuntha. Even Vaikuntha Loka, there is so again, this is on transcendental platform, but even in Vaikuntha, the dealing between Lord and devotees is more like a formal. Lord is great and we are inferior, and the devotees are worshipping the Lord. And that's why this kind of personal dealings with the Lord are even unknown in Vaikuntha Loka. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna is thinking that I will go in the material world and I will broadcast these pastimes, these rarest of rare pastimes or dealings with the Lord. That's why the verses in this Vritrasura pastime, they are, I mean, some get liberation, and out of liberated, very few may achieve the devotion to Narayana and go to Vaikuntha Loka. Still, there is very less chance that they will be aware about Shuddha Bhakti, the Vrindavan pastimes. So, that that highest level of spiritual perfection, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this material world and he distributed causelessly, without any reason, without any qualification. Not even like if people are not, I mean, when people were again like not respecting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enough, so out of mercy, he decided to take sannyas and reach out to the fallen souls by himself. If they are not coming to him, he will come to you. And same did our Prabhupada, who was blessed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, came to this Western world and preached everyone without any qualification. That's why Rupa Goswami is praising Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurat Vishe Namaha. Mahavadanyaya, there was no incarnation before and there won't be any other incarnation like that, who is giving the highest thing by which Krishna, the Lord himself, Krishna can give you anything. But like it's rare, it's never seen that the person becomes dependent on the devotee. The Lord himself becomes dependent on the devotee, and that pure devotion Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just distributing without any qualification. So so I think, yeah, this yeah, I just connected this because yesterday was Gaur Purnima, and this, the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam, they are like very deeply integrated, and even Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur have reminded us many times that we should try to study Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati used to say that if there is nothing, if the world is gonna get destroyed and there is one thing that you can hold onto, then hold on to Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. But now you have to give up something. You cannot hold to all of these three. Then maybe you can leave Bhagavad Gita and hold on to Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And now still the calamity is falling and you still cannot carry the two books. Maybe you can let go Srimad Bhagavatam, but stick to Chaitanya Charitamrita, because Chaitanya Charitamrita will award you highest perfection in the same lifetime by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is when chanting Krishna's name, there is consideration of some niyamas, some rules, regulations, and consideration of aparadha also, offenses. But when we chant Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Mahaprabhu and Nityanand Prabhu's names are without, there is no consideration of offenses. You just chant and then you will be elevated to the level where you will be able to chant Krishna's name. So this each and every line of these books is just about glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and how without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityanand Prabhu, no one can reach or understand the real tattva of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada used to say that that we should again and again read Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he mentioned in a lecture that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, whenever he used to get any time, he will bring out his Chaitanya Charitamrita and start reading it. So that's why these literatures are very important for us, and it will take away all the confusions away and give us deeper and deeper understanding of Bhagavatam if we study Chaitanya Charitamrita. So again, this is just for inspiring myself, and that's how I was thinking about, because when I started reading this chapter today, the Vritrasura pastime, I saw like how much it is connected to the Avirbhav Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the exact reason for which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, and he tried to preach the most core, or the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. So yeah, and we had a lot of discussion about sannyas, word sannyas in previous verses. I think I also see this somewhere related, that sannyas, yesterday Vaisheshika Prabhu in his class gave very nice definition to word sannyas. He was saying that when we divide the word san and nyas in Sanskrit, it means that putting things to right place. sannyas is not about giving up. It's about putting things to right place. That is utilizing whatever we can in the service of Krishna. That is the ultimate meaning of sannyas. And how intelligently Prabhu cross-referenced Prabhupada's purport, that that even there is no need, like you don't have to renounce family life also, which is condemned so much everywhere in Shastra, in Srimad Bhagavatam, if we are engaging even our like griha, dhara, and our putra, everything in Krishna's service somehow or other. So certainly just reading these books, understanding will certainly help us to absorb these principles and do, and then try to implement them in our life. Yeah. It's the verse one it's quoted is Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti Sadhya Kabhu Naye Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaye Uday. So it's not a sadhya. It's not like we will do something and then we will achieve Krishna Bhakti. It's not like that. It's just it is already there, and it can be revived with the pure association of pure devotees and reading Shravan and Kirtan. So yeah, these are simple principles, and that's why Prabhupada says it's very simple process, and then we can just try to understand and read more and keep discussing like this. Yeah, thank you so much. I think I took long, Prabhu, and just wanted to share this because again it was Gaur Purnima yesterday. Haribol.
Thank you so much, Vamshidhar Gopal Prabhu. Beautiful, beautiful points, beautiful, recitation of CC verses. It's really nourishing for all of us. And, we were also discussing how we should, in our Bhagavad Gita discussion every morning, on Gaur Purnima day, we were discussing how we should also try to read CC as much as possible to get to understand the heart of the Lord. So very, very nice. Thank you. Thank you for making this connection. So yeah, actually we are out of time. So it's already 10:03 Eastern. So we'll stop here and we'll continue next time with the remaining verses. And I think we completed till 5th. We completed till the 5th verse, 6, 14, 5. So we'll continue from 6th one next time. So very, very deep discussions and very nice points brought about by so many devotees. So it is really nourishing, and let us continue discussing this way, and let us do this Machitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Paraspara Kathayantascha Mam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. And yeah, so that's all for this time.